Here on Radio Row at Super Bowl 51 with Jackie Sherrill, a Texas football legend who is with us here. He, of course, was the former head coach at Texas A&M and Mississippi State, also coached at Pitt and Iowa State. And he is here
Alabama,
first. And
Arkansas.
Alabama, Arkansas. Good Lord.
Iowa State.
Jackie, it's, you look back over, and I want to talk some college football with you today. The state of the game right now, is it good, bad, or somewhere in the middle?
It's the best it's ever been. When you look at the ratings, and, the game has changed as far as, the beginning of the season to the end of the season, because everybody's thinking about the national championship. That's your goal, get in the Final Four. But the interest of the game overrides everything else. A year ago, basketball, you didn't even hear about basketball until the championship game was over. So basketball now has come out rating the top 16 teams to get into the Final Four. So to generate some interest in people out there who are the top teams into the Final Four. But economically, it's best. And, what we've seen, and they're now finally, everybody was, when the championship game came in, Bill, everybody said, well, it's going to kill everybody else, the others. And I said, no, it won't. It's going to actually make them stronger, because now they'll have a chance to have a national championship game. And then when you really look at it, if you're in the subdivision, or if you're in the other Power 5, and you have a chance to play for a national championship, that's a big deal. So right now, then they're figuring in the last 6 months, they're figuring a way to get, to start their own national championship game. So, and it's kind of like years ago when I had a real good friend that was on the board at Rice, played at Rice, was on the board when the Southwest Conference dissolved, and they said, wow, what are we going to do? And I said, it's the best thing for you. He said, what do you mean? I said, now you're going to compete against people you're going to beat, and you're going to go to a bowl game. And he said, well, what about the money? I said, does Rice need that $1 million they're getting a year?
Right.
I don't think so. So the first year they win, go to a bowl game.
Earl Campbell is quoted in USA Today, though, as saying the game has turned soft. Now, he's referring specifically to the National Football League, but could you also extend that to college football?
Well, not necessarily. If you look at Alabama, they're not soft.
They're not
soft.
soft.
Look at Clemson, they were not soft. So to win a championship, you're not going to be soft. You may have a lot of yardage, you may have a lot of offense, but the game is still the same, regardless if it's in the NFL. You still have to play defense. You still have to stop the opponent's running game and be able to run the football. So the teams that get to the Final Four in football, I'm talking about in college, are the teams that are very physical. The game it's still physical. But of course now, because of the spread offenses, it's changed personnel-wise. You no longer can have that 350-pound nose guard. You have to have the 270s, 280s, 290 guys up front that can run and put pressure on the quarterback. You're not trying to put all the run stoppers. So the game has changed. Nick Saban at Alabama changed his defensive philosophy as far as the front, where he now has the 270s, 290s. Every once in a while you'll have a 300-pound defensive lineman, but they all can run. Two-part question. Did Texas A&M make the right decision to leave the Big 12, and what do you think the Big 12's future is? I don't think the Big 12 is going to stay, and it's very simple. I did a TV show, Fox, in 1989 here in Houston, a 30-minute show that we would end up with 4 conferences, 16 to 20 teams in each conference. And that was because of the television revenue. The game still is controlled, whether it's pro ball, whether it's college ball, is controlled by television. Television and they're controlled by the spots that they can sell, the commercials. So when you look at college football, it there's only so many viewers in the Big 12, and it's called fan base. How many teams in the Big 12 have over 1 million in fan base? How many has 2 million? How many has 3
It's part
million?
of what killed the Southwest Conference too.
Absolutely. But if you look at A&M going to the SEC, A&M has the largest fan base. A&M is the wealthiest school. A&M also has as well as the biggest following. So when they went into the SEC, they increased the SEC television market by 40% because of Houston and Dallas.
Right.
The top 5 TV markets, college football, Birmingham, Atlanta, and Tampa, St. Pete, that surprised me, but Houston and Dallas, those are the top 5.
I know you Jack talked about coaching in the NFL once upon a time. Which game do you like the better? The college game or the pro game?
Well, for me, it is the college game, because you're not in pro ball. You've got that one matchup. Maybe you may play 40 plays or snaps to get that one player on that one matchup. In college football, that matchup may come every time, because that playing cover 2, that safety may not be exactly where he is, and it comes down to physical talent. It comes down to being able to be able to have techniques, fundamentals. In pro ball, they all have techniques and fundamentals. It's just, tomorrow, it's Sunday, there's going to be a player like Butler that's going to make one play to win the game. In college, you have more opportunities to win the game than one.
Jackie Sherrill's with us on Radio Row. You coached at Mississippi State. Do you mind telling the steer story when you played Texas? Do you mind telling that one again?
I got a lot of credit. Lampley called me, and I said, "Jim, do you know what a steer is?" And he said, "No." I said, "Well, you do now." And he laughed. But, we're in a squad meeting, and we're playing the Texas Longhorns. Says, "Y'all even know what a Longhorn is or a steer is?"
Yeah.
No. We had one person, Jimmy Helms, which was played at Texas. And so we're on the way after the meeting to the practice field, and the manager walks up and said, "Coach, we're in the cattle business. We do 50 steers every day." And he said, "You want me to get my dad to bring one and show you?"
And show you how it's done? Yeah.
I said, "Sure." So they brought the bull, and they had a veterinarian with them, gave him a shot of penicillin, and it was like I was the person that had had the knife between my teeth and went out there and threw that bull on the ground.
He wasn't a bull anymore, right?
No, but it became very funny, but it got our players' attention because we were not highly ranked, and they were, I think, 13th in the country at the time, and they went down and the players put a knot on Texas.
You beat them, yeah.
Beat them pretty badly.
All right, would you given the concussion situation, then I'm going to talk about your shoulder in a moment, would you let a kid play football?
Absolutely. My grandkids play. I go watch them play. And the only thing that I would advise the parents is don't let your kids start playing until they're ready to play. There's some kids that want to play, they're ready to play, they're mentally ready, they're physically. And the second thing is don't let your kids go play for somebody that doesn't teach your kids techniques and fundamentals. If you walk out there and the first thing to do is throw a ball out there and let them start playing, that's the wrong place for your kid to start. Because if you don't learn how to tackle, you don't learn, how to play the game and techniques and fundamentals, then your kid probably will get hurt. So the concussions, yes, but ride a bicycle, you're going to have a concussion. You can have a concussion doing a lot of things, but the number one injury per capita is women's soccer. You know, then you know, of butting the ball, or you know, same thing with their knees or their ankles. So to answer your question, yes, I go watch my grandkids and encourage them to play, and I enjoy coaching them.
And speaking of injuries, you just got your left shoulder fixed. How'd that happen?
Well, you know, I had an opportunity. I watched Governor Perry, you know, get back on the campaign trail after 3 days with the back surgery, and I said, wait a minute. And then I had another friend that had back problems, and they received stem cells. So then I found out that David Eller was the CEO. He was the chairman of the board at A&M. So I called and I said, I have a rotator cuff. Will it help me? Yes. So, and then I heard that Dorset Tony was having some problems, and so I asked if I could get Tony.
By the way, one of your guys.
Yes, could get Tony, and if it would help, you know, in the dementia side. So that's how I started. But you know, I couldn't lift my shoulder above my, you know, when you have a rotator cuff, it hurts. And 3 days, no pain. 5 days, full range. And can do anything with my left. You know, today I'm probably a little stronger with my left than my right on certain things. But you know, my knees, I had both knees injected. And then I asked David Eller if he would allow me to take some former NFL players that have different issues, and from ALS to dementia to shoulders, knees, backs, and we have, and every one of them have improved, and that's a big deal.
And it's called Celtex, right?
The company is Celtex, and it's
stem cells, right?
Stem cells, but it's, you know, how you administer. There's a lot of different ways of any stem cells help. You know, for a period of time we had PRP. That's when you took the blood and spun it down to blood plasma. Then you have SVF, which is taking bone marrow out, basically, and giving you the layman term,
right.
Bone marrow, and spinning it down and putting it back in. And there's a lot of, I mean, I would say 99% of every team doctor in the NFL is doing SVF. But the other one is what you call mesenchymal stem cells, MSCs, where you actually culture and they grow back to your own original cells. There's donor cells, and I can understand President Bush of banning stem cells from embryonic. That's I would agree with that. But there are donor cells, but having the opportunity to have your own cells and have your own DNA and have it harvested and put back in, there's no, what the scientists know today, there's no downside. You know, it may not cure what you have, but there's no adverse effects.
Jackie Sherrill here with us on Radio Row at Super Bowl 51. Coach, thanks.
You're welcome. Good to see you.
Good to see you too.